Welcome back, weary travelers, to Recorder on the Wall, as we go through every single Redwall book. That is 22, and not just 12. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Pete.
I'm Katie.
I'm Adam.
Introducing for the first time on the show, one of the administrators of the Redwall Forum, and the guy whose fanfiction we covered last year, Tammo.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello.
Hi, Tammo.
Yes, quite well.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have Matthias, True, or Scars this round, but we are in contact with them. They're not dead. So, thankfully. And we'll see where this goes. So yes, we covered the... I didn't remember that this was the shortest part of Mariel, the book 2. So, this is weird. I thought the short part was always book 3.
Yeah, it's kind of uneven.
It is.
That's how you know we're back to some of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, I was kind of relieved that this was the shortest part in the book, considering that I prepared for everything, like, from this morning till right. So, like, I read through all of part 1, which is, it's like a solid, like, half of the book, and then immediately after had to prepare all my notes for this one. So I was actually kind of relieved that it was just chapters 19 to 26. Otherwise, that would have gone a little bit out of hand, I think.
That's impressive commitment, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, this one was a doozy.
Congratulations.
I mean, I've said it on the show before, and it's a rule of mine. I deliberately hold myself back from speed running through these things at max speed for 2 reasons. 1, to enjoy it, and B, I have to take notes. And so I don't get exhausted of the series and kind of burn out like I did as a kid. So when I saw this was a short part, I was like, yay!
I was happy because it meant my procrastination to wait until like the last day or two was not that bad this time.
Yeah, there you
What
go.
are you talking about? None of us do that. Totally haven't done this like in the hours ahead of the recording. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, I used to do that for school. Why would I not do it now? I wrote a 20-page essay like 2 days before it was due.
Nice.
Yep. And I got an A in the class, so ha-ha!
Take that.
Jeremy beats the system.
Yes.
So wait, what's the longest some of you guys have waited before, like, actually sitting down and reading what you were supposed to for the podcast?
I think once I did it the same day.
Okay.
I just want to read them, and so sometimes I have the problem of reading ahead because I'm a nerd. So I have the opposite problem.
Yeah, we definitely all are, because we wouldn't be here if we weren't.
Yep.
Truth.
So yeah, let's look at Mariel book 2, and just almost remind me of Matthias book 2, because the party A of Mariel and other associated people, we'll go over them in a minute. Yes, stuff happens, but it's just moving from point A to B. And I won't say their story bored me, but it didn't. There was some genuinely good moments here. But, yeah, other parts were kind of more interesting.
Yeah, what's happening with Redwall is much more interesting.
Yeah, because they're under invasion again.
Yeah.
It's almost
the
like
attacks
this happens.
the attacks on Redwall are always good.
See, I don't know. I always loved, like, the journeys, even if it's just point A to point B stuff, right? Just because, to me, that's sort of where the charm lies in some of these stories. So, like, take a step back and look at, like, what makes a story a Redwall story. Half of it is always going to be, like, some kind of journey and just, like, the trip to get to the plot points, so to speak. And so something like this, and you're going back and forth as they're remembering the poem and trying to use that as a map to guide the way. I thought that part was pretty fun. And then the antics with Graypatch are always a good time.
It's nice to give it a feel of like a bigger world. Like you get to see what makes this world tick and see areas outside of just... It is weird, and it's something I kind of wish... we've talked about it before. It'd be nice if there were other settlements besides just Redwall and Salamandastron.
Well, it's not too long patrol that we actually start seeing that.
Yeah.
At least in Lost Flower. There are other settlements, they're just far north or south. Or at sea.
This is true, we will see one of the settlements in the next book.
Yes, we will. Not to spoil it too much. So
if it's mentioned on the back of the book, it's not a spoiler.
Point. So we didn't have all that many new introductions this round. I did take note. A couple of them were neutral characters. I marked them down. And a couple of more villains who their mothers hated them. I'm sorry. The naming convention here is kind of bad.
Yeah.
We have the only new villains I have written down are Ranzo, Dripnose, and Lord Gut.
What about Rekhide? Was he mentioned?
I did miss him. Sorry.
Okay. My comment on him was, well, let's just call him Stinkfur.
It wouldn't surprise me if that actually was a Redwall name somewhere.
Stinkfur.
Like I think there was one named Stinky at some point, so I mean, why not?
There we go.
You guys could probably do a whole segment on if that name is real in the Redwall series or not.
We really should.
Oh yeah, it could be like a game show.
Yeah, I thought of finding some Redwall trivia questions, and like if we had like a segment on the podcast, or if we did like a silly podcast one time, we could do Redwall trivia.
It was suggested
that name or joke.
Yeah.
It was suggested to me on Twitter that we do like some sort of Jeopardy contest.
Nice.
For trivia, and that may happen. I got to work with the person who suggested it, but I don't know. We'll find out. So yeah, we had a few deaths this round. We'll see why in a bit, but and a couple more neutrals came into the.
We also, I believe, have a potential zombie when we get there.
Yeah, you'll need to address that.
Yeah.
So, and Tarquin still continues to be creepy.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know I'm reading this as an adult, but it's like,
He's obsessed. At least he's not a stalker.
He's
not like following her around or anything.
No, he's not. But anyway, let's actually get into this.
Hardly the worst thing that happens in this book.
Yeah. It's amazing how different you read things as an adult than as a child. Like, because, I don't know, for example, Charlotte's Web, like, kind of destroys me now when I read it. Especially, like, Charlotte was all alone when she died. I'm like, no, it's so sad. But when I was a kid, I was like, oh, it's a book about a spider, and she dies. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that. Like rewatching The Lion King now. I'm like, wow, Mufasa's body is on screen for a very long time, and it just gets more and more disturbing the further it goes.
Yeah, and then Scar is like, oh, by the way, 5-year-old, your dad died, and it's totally your fault, so you should run off now. It's like, wow.
It's like, and just right before that, though, where Simba's like nudging him and crawling underneath his dead body. I'm like, this is really dark for a kid's movie.
And I'm sure the new one totally won't be just as dark. But back to
goes right to Happy Times.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of why I've avoided the new Watership Down, because I'm like, oh.
I didn't even know there was one until like last night. I was just looking up stuff on IMDb and found it when, wait, this is a thing?
I mean, the original was pretty dark in itself.
Oh, yeah. It's a very violent movie.
Much as book. But I don't.
But both are very violent.
Yeah. But back to our main series here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing dark ever happens in this one.
No, never ever.
No.
Hi, Graypatch. What are you trying to do? Oh, you're gonna invade the Abbey with 100 rats and your ore slaves.
I think that might be a problem for him.
Wouldn't be the first guy to try it.
Nope.
It's the first guy to try slaves, though.
Yeah.
Give him some credit, I guess, for creativity.
But before we get him actually getting to the Abbey, we have Flag the Otter, who is kind of cool. Yeah, I like this character.
He's good.
Yep.
And his first assignment from Alice is just like, go bring Mariel and her party.
I like how he happily kind of goes about it, not at all going like, yeah, I'm totally going to be able to find them, even though I have no idea where they went.
Yeah.
That won't be hard at all.
I'm sure Tarquin left a trail of crumbs.
There we go.
Or a trail of, like, just follow the music. He'll find them.
Yeah. I was going to say he left a trail of, like, forgotten poems that he made out to Rosie.
Yes.
Follow the creepy trail.
Yeah, he just, like, discards. Exactly. It's like, no, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. And he just keeps throwing them down.
So I was under the impression that Melis was actually asking Flag to bring back just the boys. Like, I don't think she was trying to bring back Mariel.
Yeah, you're probably actually it does read that. Just Dandon and Dury. She doesn't mention Tarquin or
she
Mariel.
Doesn't care about the other two apparently.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty much.
Actually,
no.
It's either that or she's confident that Mariel and Tarquin will be okay on their own, and she doesn't trust that Dandon and Dury will be okay.
Which I kind of like, actually.
And Dandon kind of has you're one of your major Abbey relics, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just found this sword one morning. I should go on a quest now.
So yeah, but he almost runs straight into Graypatch, and he's just like, when he walks out the magically disappearing and reappearing wicker gate on the north wall. Yeah, this is not
a plot door.
It really is. Yeah, we're gonna see these mysterious side gates show up and not show up later in the series, but I think that's the first time we've seen them directly, because I sure as hell don't remember Matthias using it.
I don't know.
I think he and Silent Sam went through a side door in the book. I remember in the cartoon they went in through the front door, but in the book they snuck in on the side.
Okay, so I'm remembering now. Warbeak says, "I'll have my sparrows open the east, north, and south little gates." I can't remember if that was in Matthias or Matameo, but somehow the sparrows were helping by opening those gates.
That does sound familiar.
Never mind. Point withdrawn.
I will agree though that they do kind of feel plot convenient at times. Like if they had these easily, openable doors, how come every single villain doesn't use them? So I think they are plot. They are there, but they only open based on plot.
And this is a weird, like, almost the exact same thing happens in Loamhedge when Martha's like, "Oh, I'm worried about my brother, Otter friend. Please bring him back." And so he comes out and he's like, "Oh, there's vermin," and goes right back in. It's like, where have I seen this before?
But he's like, "Oh, bad guys," walks right back in and basically tells Melis, yeah, we got problems." And they're not, and we're gonna get to how the Dibbons handle this, but yeah, later on.
Oh yeah,
Dibbons.
So yes, Redwall basically prepares for war pretty darn quick. So.
Yeah. Well, when you have such a limited amount of weapons, it's pretty easy to gather them all up.
Yep.
And I like how Abbott Burner's just like, "I'm completely useless when it comes to this stuff, so everyone else take charge," unlike cartoon Mortimer, who's like, "No, we have to like surrender and stuff."
Yeah, at least Bernard admits it.
Yeah, Mortimer.
They didn't really hold back this time when they were talking to the vermin, did they? They just kind of start throwing rocks at them like right off the bat.
Yeah. And we get the little kitchen assistant that blinds Graypatch.
Oh, yep. He went from half blind to all the way blind.
I'm okay.
In my notes there, I had "Don't try attacking them, Graypatch. It won't work." And then I said, "Yep, see what happens." And then I realized that I had made a pun there. Just like, yep. Clever.
I love how Simeon is like, when they're retreating, it's like, "Then you will really see what a battle is like." And Simeon launches into this whole speech of like, "Alas, I cannot see because I am blind." I'm like, dude, he's probably halfway down the road by now. Stop talking.
Yeah, everyone's standing there like, who's he talking to?
I'm not gonna lie, I started to get reminded of Blinken out of Robin Hood Men in Tights. So.
He's just like facing a tree, and he's like, Simeon, we're up here."
He's attacking like a pot with a sword. Oh god.
That would be the abridged jokes, probably.
There we go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, there was no season 4 of the cartoon, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
for the abridged series to make, and they never finished the first, but that's not a story.
I was gonna say, how come Redwall never does have an abbot that at least kind of has a basic understanding of warfare?
I think in Eulalia, the abbot actually leads a charge.
Oh.
Like an army.
Okay.
I believe that's accurate. Somebody can fact check me, but I
that's
think
one of the ones I haven't read yet. So
same.
Oh, spoilers.
That's right.
You see, the thing is, it's not. Most of the time when you guys do these like far-flung ones that I've yet to read, I'm just like, I'm sure I'll get there. Yeah. So.
And also, we might forget by the time we get there anyway.
Probably.
Yeah.
Eulalia is
like
because
like the
honestly,
class or something.
Honestly, even the ones I read multiple times growing up as a kid, and I'm sitting here rereading this as an adult, and I'm like, I don't remember that. Like Cockleburr throwing, using a sling, and bonk. Oh, you're blind now.
Yep. Bye.
All the way blind.
Then we get a rarity for like a lot of the villains where Big Fang leads off the rest of the sea rats, be like, we're leaving. But then Fishgill the Steers Rat shows like a massive amount of loyalty, and he's like, don't worry about it, boss. I'll stay here with you. They'll be back eventually. Like, wow, You're really loyal to him. That's rare for the villains.
Yeah, it's also rare that no one tried to take out Graypatch while he was blinded in this.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I can just picture I think he says I'm not going to kill you or something, and in my head I said, "Don't worry, Graypatch, I'm not going to kill you because the plot says that you should stay alive longer."
Well, Big Fang does say it's like, "Don't worry, I ain't going to kill you. I'll just leave you here. You're not going to survive in this forest anyway." And it does bring up when Graypatch is sitting there, he kind of stays quiet because he's like, all right, I'm at the mercy of my crew. I need to pick my words very carefully.
Yep.
And he kind of does once they come back, right? Like he has a plan all thought out, and he's, even incorporates Big Fang's plan into that as a suggestion. And I mean, to me, I was like, all right, look, vermin, they don't really grow over the course of these stories, do they? But it kind of made me feel like, oh yeah, maybe albeit how what's it, Graypatch, maybe he has matured a little bit for 5 seconds, and then the plan just goes horribly wrong.
Well, yes.
Yeah, I can't blame him for underestimating Redwall, and it's also he's a little bit out of his element. Like it sounds like he's very good at taking ships and being on the sea, but when he's on land and dealing with a stationary building, he's not as clever because he's not used to he's not as experienced with that.
Yeah, I'd agree there. I mean, he does talk about
that he is.
Yeah, right.
This is true.
I also want to point out we have this interesting conversation between Saxus and Melis, and he's like, I'm not really a fan of war here, but yeah, we kind of need to defend ourselves. I wonder if they're setting up an actually intelligent character to be Abbott in the future.
No.
Instead of a random nursemaid. Yeah, I'm still not over Bryony.
Wait, did Bryony become Abbess?
Yeah.
Yes.
What, was there not a broom in a closet they couldn't have picked instead?
I'm sorry, Outcast fans.
Hey, I'm not insulting the part of the book I liked. I liked all the Sunflash stuff in that book. It was Bryony that I didn't like, which I never had. Speaking of not noticing things till you're older, I never had that much of a problem with her until we reread the book recently. Now,
same here.
Yeah.
So, I do like when we get back to Graypatch, and yeah, he's just like I love his insult here. Oh, a bunch of root crunchers. Oh, look, you take him with one claw. Shut up, I'm not blinded. And his own crew is just like, yeah, you're stupid.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we have Big Fang and Kaibo are like, yeah, screw you guys, we're going home. And they went to go back to the ship.
And that doesn't work out too well for them.
Hey!
No.
What happened to our ship?
Hey,
Ringtail, what happened to our ship?
What?
Yeah, so who dismantled the ship? Was that Han, Rosie, and her gang?
I think it was, yeah.
Yes, it was. They got there just before almost. Like, they were still in the process of taking it apart when the rats came back.
Ooh, that's rough.
They were attempting to eat their food too, but I did like the comment of, man, if I had to eat food this bad, I'd be pretty evil too.
Yeah, why would you? I wouldn't want to eat food that was in the. No, thank you.
Yeah, especially the one where like one of them's about to take a bite out of it and like a cockroach like crawls out of the thing.
Oh, bad. Ugh.
Not exactly the most sanitary either. And to the Harris credit, Clary's credit, he throws it away rather than eat it.
He does. Oh, at my old apartment, I kept my apartment clean, but my neighbors didn't, and so I got some of their cockroach overflow. And one time I was doing dishes, and I reached my hand into the sink, and there was a cockroach climbing out of the drain, and I screamed so loud that people thought I was dying, but it was just a big shock.
Yeah, no, can't relate there.
Mine, thankfully, is cleaner than that. I mean, not I'm implying yours is unclean, but we get regular insect sprayers in my complex. So.
Yep, I don't have that problem now. Hooray!
It may be being as north as you are.
That's true. I mean, I don't know, but I'm enjoying the not cockroaches. Gotta say.
So, meanwhile, back at Salamander Strong, we find that the mountain is empty.
Ron Blade was angry.
He got a little mad.
Almost a blood wrath. No, that's not.
Oh, back in Katie's inconsistency corner, there was a mention that no one has had blood wrath since Boar the Fighter, and I was like, wrong. Sunflash had it.
Yeah, I brought that up too in my notes, but I'm also willing to forgive it because this was literally the 4th book published before our cast.
Yeah, that's true. I was just.
So my in-universe explanation for that, I actually was just thinking about that. I put that in my notes as well. I said, well, we know Boar was not the last Badger before Ron Blade to suffer from it. I'd actually like to think the history books would have glossed over that for Sunstripe, which is, he eventually changed his name to the more peaceful Sunstripe. For someone like him, it just makes sense that somebody would focus on his peaceful nature rather than his blood-wrathy moments.
That makes sense. Because it's like, look at this gentle guy who's so good with the kids. He never had blood wrath. No, that must be wrong.
Never mind that pirate ship he completely slaughtered.
I think he wanted to forget that too.
I mean, if we go by the artwork from that book, yeah, he kind of did.
Yeah, he was not having a good day.
However, Ron Blade, we're told he basically sent out all of his hairs and has the mountain stands temporarily abandoned as he walks down on the beach, completely in his own armor, and he's about to take on an entire pirate ship full of rats just for the fun of it.
Yeah, we find out Ron Blade does not have anything against murdering an entire crew.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like, one survivor from that is, like, traumatized before he dies.
Yeah, and these rats may or may not have had to do anything to do with the 3 hairs that he was avenging. Like, how do you know that these people killed your 3 friends? Like, how?
I don't think he cares.
No,
that's true.
I think his opinion is there's sea rats, they all must die.
Yep.
100's not so bad for a day's work.
Yeah.
Speaking of genocided tribes, back at Mariel's crew, they're walking through, following the poem, and there's a line here: "The nose shall not send me to sleep," and
they immediately fall asleep.
More or less. But before they do that, we see everybody is thinking back to their loved ones, and we find out we have confirmation that Dandon's an orphan.
No.
Are we surprised? I mean,
no.
I'm more surprised when characters actually do have parents in this series.
Yep.
Or living parents.
Well, technically, Dandon does have a mother.
Big Badger, yes.
Yeah.
It makes sense though, because I mean, that would make sense why he wound up at an abbey, right?
Well, he had no sister to get him there, but yes. We have Jury who thinks of Gabriel. We have Mariel who's thinking of her father, Joseph, and no mention of her mom. So she came out of a Cabbage Patch, probably?
I guess.
I mean, he could have found an orphan and just adopted her, I suppose.
Entirely possible.
That's possible. I mean, there's plenty of orphans to go around in this series.
Oh my god. Yeah. But then Tarquin is still thinking of Han Rosie.
Yes.
Because this strange sweet scent on the air reminds him of her perfume. Oh, shut up. I'm not getting sleepy. Oh.
No, it's more of Tarquin. The reason why it's doing that is because she probably knocks you out frequently to get away from you.
I imagine there isn't much that doesn't remind him of Han Rosie.
Yep.
And this right, no.
No. He has some problems.
That bowl of oatmeal this morning.
All four of them wake up tied to the same tree and, oh, hi, Flitcheye.
Yeah.
They're somehow not genocided.
I will say, I bet you Martin would have wished he would have been knocked out with herbs at least once instead of a blow to the head. He's probably watching them going like, lucky.
So when I was doing the audio for this part, the Flitcheye all have this very high whiny tone, and you really kind of get the feeling that they're just these tiny creatures that hop around and really just smell bad, kind of like these like I don't know what, but then I think
let's not insult the pygmy shrews like that.
And so like I think it's just because I was listening to this at like 2 times speed or something like that. It just sounded
I'm sorry.
Higher and more.
They've been captured by Alvin and the Chipmunks.
That's exactly where I was gonna go. Yeah. And now that's canon in my head.
Alvin and the Chipmunks take on the Flitcheye.
They tie you to the tree and make you listen to them rehearsing their Christmas time.
Oh God.
Flitcheye!
They do it in their Flitcheye accent.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, so that was a whole experience, and I was like, you know what? I got to give it to the guys who did the voices for this. They nailed it. It's exactly how I thought it sounded.
Yeah, the voice actors in general are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was just thinking Flitcheye sing the Christmas classics.
Oh. Skip out on that one.
Well, considering we're past Christmas at this point, please no. Oh, and they got Martin's sword because,
it has to get stolen at least once in every book.
Yes.
It must be like a claymore to one of them.
Okay. Okay, rewind. Has Martin's sword actually been stolen? I mean, when it was Luke's sword it was, but the reforged one. Has this been stolen by this point, chronologically?
No, because Martin had it in his possession all throughout Mossflower and Legend of Luke, and it wasn't even mentioned in Outcast.
Correct. So.
Way to go, Dandon.
You had one job.
Lineage, great.
Had one job, Dandon.
So then what happens? They all just start screaming, "We're from Redwall," and then an owl swoops in and saves them all.
Yep. We get the start of the classic, "We're in trouble. Oh, wait, comes a big honking bird to save us" pattern.
Yeah, they did escape their ropes first, and like they were able to struggle out, and they said like, "What's the next part of the poem?"
Yep.
Well, it's not just they escape the rooms, but Tarquin actually, it's a long flying Sniger, and it hit the wall.
Yeah. But Mariel shows us why she's the titular character. She's the one that like escapes first and comes up with a plan.
Yeah.
Sniger,
sitting there, we're like, I want to go home.
We haven't mentioned Sniger's the Flitcheye chieftain, but I don't think anybody's care.
He goes to flight school in like 2 seconds, so I do like when our new owl shows up and he's like, "Do you want me to kick a few more over a tree? I could do it." And they're like, "No, that's okay."
Yeah, compared to the Boldred and the Kegger Gobba tribe, she actually shows legit restraint where you can tell this new owl, what's his name?
Stonehead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He wants to kick their butts.
McGurney.
Yep.
He's a total bro. Like, I can just picture him saying bro at the end of every sentence. Like, oh man, bro, I kicked so many of those over the tree, bro. I'm like, come on, bro, let me try.
Totally make that.
This sounds like something. This is something he does weekly.
Yeah.
That's why they hide.
Yeah, I come here every day, kick the Flitcheye around, no big deal.
Do a couple squats.
Yep. Working my abs. It's all good, man.
So now that we've obliterated the character of Stonehead.
Yeah, act like that's the first time we
it.
haven't done that.
Might have been better.
You know what surprised me a lot, though, is that when he's just like, oh, yeah, come to my house. And then they make them salad. They make them, like, white mushroom salad. I'm like, I thought, like, he would just lay down like a dead rat on the table and be like, all right, eat up. And just sort of watch them and just sort of look down at the food and look back at them like, you going to eat it? Or...
I got this for you.
I mean, he may be a bro, but he follows the laws of hospitality. He's not going to serve them something they can't eat.
He's a vegetarian, bro.
Yeah.
Well, no.
No, he's not.
They didn't eat.
No, they
didn't eat.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's heavily implied. It's not said outright, but yeah, they all the foursome kind of look around and realize, based on Flichai trappings in one corner of the cave, and that the Stonehead, his wife, and their Forge Six, they keep the Flichai population in check.
Yeah, and they notice that they feed them, but the owls don't actually eat. So, I mean, they're not vegetarian bros, but man, they respect everybody, bro. Like, you do you, bro. You eat whatever you want.
They're fasting.
They're a lot nicer than Captain Snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, there was that whole worry that, like, at any moment, this guy's just going to eat me.
Yeah.
He wasn't a bro.
Or the warden that's like, just kill every lawbreaker or eat them. I don't care which one.
Yeah.
And back at the Dark Queen. Hey, our ship.
Yeah.
And yeah, the three hares have not only disabled the ship, they kind of start picking them off. Like, hey, does this look like an arrow to you?
Then Big Fang has a bad day.
Very bad.
Yeah, I love how that his whole grand plan lasted for about a chapter, and then they're like, all right, let's go back to the blind guy sitting next to the path, because he could do a good job.
And it's not even that, like, it fails there. It's like, he goes, no, we can take him. And then Kibo, like, just beats the heck out of him and goes, all right, I'm taking everyone back. And Big Fang's like, all right.
I do have to give credit to Big Fang. He does use, what's his face, the annoying squirrel, Packatug. As a literal shield, and I'm thinking okay, yeah, it's a jerk thing to do, but tactically this makes sense. He honestly doesn't know how many hares are around, and he can guess they're not going to want to kill what they regard as an innocent creature, but
he's lucky that they do care about him. Otherwise, it could be like that scene in Beast Wars where he's like, I have a hostage, so you do! Blast! It's like, is there anything else you'd like to try?
Yeah. And, as we mentioned, Kaibo is just kind of like, oh, great plan. I'm going to stick it, and he puts a knife right up to Big Fang's like, I'm in charge now. Sure.
Yep.
And, then we get to the Dibbins, because, oh, man. Don't get me wrong, they provide a good service here in the middle of a freaking battle, but oh, good God.
Well, don't forget, we get one scene with Gabool for this entire part of the book.
Oh, I love
that. Which, it is good.
Go ahead and do that before we get to the Dibbins.
Yeah, it's, we get Gabool kind of going bonkers at...
pretty early, honestly.
Yeah, he's... he hasn't just lost it. He lost it, and I think it just ran away from him. His sanity ran away at this point. It's like, no, I'm done. Bye.
I'll admit that almost, I would say, a majority of the Vermin leaders we will see and have seen, when things look at their worst, there's definitely a panic or even an insanity sets in.
Yep.
Clooney definitely had that, where he was yelling at his minions to climb up the burning wreckage of the siege tower.
Yes, and I think Sarmina had it from the beginning.
This is true. Where
and Batarang, it's not till almost to the very end when Martin's about to kill him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Sarmina shot a random rat and went, well, I killed my brother. Time to go back inside.
Yeah.
And Tron, did he ever actually, start losing it?
No.
I don't think he really did.
He was more, grounded than his followers were. There's even a moment where like his troops are getting restless and starving, and he's just sitting there in Salamandastron sarcastically going, "So these are the days of Ungat Trun, hmm?"
Running
Just
out
like,
of vermin to throw out the window.
Yeah. But I do like the mystery of him running down to his basement and talking to Scrablag, and at the moment we don't know what the heck it is. All we know is it might be something more terrifying than Gabool himself.
Yes. And
From what we read about, how did you say it?
Scrablag?
Yeah. He apparently brought him up from the more tropical islands to the south and stuck whatever this is in a hole, and will only give him food on the end of a spear point.
Yep.
And it makes clicking sounds.
Yep.
Sounds like a
Whatever
pretty nice
could it
pet.
be?
All right.
Yeah.
Bring it out for parties.
So like, well, he never does the scene where he like turns in an evil chair like out of a James Bond movie and he's got whatever this thing is on
his lap, and he's just like petting it.
So the thing that makes like the way Gabool goes mad kind of cool for this book, I think, is why he does it. And I always saw it as like it's basically the bell that's doing it, right?
I think that's the implication, but
he's messing with the Badger Lord stuff. The Badger Lord, he's like, look, it's like there's no secret that there's some kind of like semi-mystical stuff going on here, right? That's playing a role. And Brian Jakes never hints like, yep, there's magic here, but there is like this extra something that happens a lot of the time. And so one of the coolest parts I thought here is that like you see Ron Blade back in like part 1. He has this dream and he sees Gabool standing next to the bell, and he takes out his sword and swings it, and you hear this loud bang. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think Ron Blade said like, "Oh, that was a dream of the future," right? And so
sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Then
see what
later
happens when you go to bed
like
on Salamandrastrain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is like then all these chapters later at this scene right here, Gabool is just sort of hanging out, and then the bell just goes boom.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing that could have done that. And so it's kind of cool that like maybe this is like a little, Brian was having some fun with how he told this story and being like, boom, I via dreams sent this really loud noise at you.
And the most mysticism we get in this series is, at least so far, what we've covered so far, is Martin showing up in dreams,
or flat out talking to people, like in this part of the book.
Yeah, he pops in a few more times.
Much less, and then when Sunflash is near death on... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think he puts like a paw on Blind Simeon's shoulder at some point when he's telling him that Dandin should go with Mariel, right?
Yeah, it's like he led him through Redwall to find the sword.
Martin did, yeah.
Martin did, yeah. And then shortly later, like he flat out says, like tells Mariel what to do to save Dandin at one point.
Oh yeah, that was a scary moment.
We're gonna get to it, and then what we've seen is Sunflash when he's absolutely near death on a bunch of adder venom. He gets to meet his dad and grandfathers. So
and his mom.
Yes.
Who's not even dead yet at that point. So it's like, what? That's like the only instance of somebody who's not dead, like literally showing up in someone's dream.
Look, she's very bored, okay?
Yeah. She learned astral projection, okay?
She can't go on her motorcycle anymore. The abbess doesn't like it.
I just want to feel the wind in my furs. They're so...
But... Yeah, not to bring everybody down, we do have to talk about the Dibbins. And not bringing them down just from joke though. Whatever. You know what I'm getting at. So Dibbins in this kit, we actually get a pretty funny moment where they're told about this mysterious creature
gobbledygoo or
something.
Thank you. Something like that.
It's basically, hey, do what we say, or this one creature's going to come and eat you, but only if you do what we say, we'll scare it away. Like, okay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And but this doesn't stop the Otter twins and a couple of their friends. Not only do they get out when they're supposed to be inside the Abbey and when it's under siege, not only do they steal kitchen knives,
they commit murder. They kill over a dozen rats.
They do.
These are
and they're
evil infant children. Yes.
I love how lightheartedly they take it afterwards. After they're like who is it? Saxtus looks over the edge. Shell-shocked Saxtus looks over the edge, and it's like, quote, you see a dozen vermin. He's like, it's written like, yeah, they're impaled on tree branches, and some of them fell on one another and then killed each other because of the fall. And Saxtus is just like, oh, hey, look at this. You naughty little kids.
Yeah, if we haven't gotten all right, the kids, these Dibbins with no adult supervision, the vermin had tried to go after the Abbey with grappling hooks, and the kids just cut the ropes because they're bored.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so funny in the audiobook because the actor that was playing, I think it was Grubb, is like, away you go, vermin. And then Jake's like, away, the vermin did go.
I loved that part.
But if not for them, the Abbey would have been invaded. Like, they did save the Abbey.
Yep.
And I think this is a really good example of Brian's like good use of blending this kind of lighthearted humor with something that's pretty serious. And it kind of has this effect of, maintaining this rousing adventure kind of tone throughout the book. Because I mean, it pops up, and I won't jump, I'll bring it right back. But like when Mariel, she's trying to confront a few lizards toward the end of this book, right? And everyone behind her, like all her friends, they're like, yeah, we're gonna die. But they're at the same time, they're just laughing at her because they think she sounds funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is kind of funny. Like, I like the consistency here with the tone.
Yeah. I think that's also why like the end of Martin the Warrior is so different from everything, because there is no humor at that point. It's just pure, character is dead, everybody is sad now, that's the end of the book.
It's just bleak, yeah.
Yeah, there's no smiling at the end of that book.
And it's like the epilogue does try to kind of comfort you a little bit, but like the first time I read it, I'm like, no, this is not working. I am not comforted.
That epilogue is them handing you a tissue to try to dry your tears.
Yeah.
It's like 5 blank pages at the end to use as tissues.
Yeah.
I will say one of the other lighthearted moments here that I really enjoyed, besides the Dibbins committing murder, is basically, I think no one is going to tolerate Tarquin doing any more songs. Right?
Thank God.
Not only did the owls just forcibly shut him up, Mariel even says, yeah, if he tries it again, I'm going to smack him with the go whacker right between the ears.
Yep. So for the part where the Dibbins start, so they're slicing grapnel ropes that the rats are trying to use to climb over the wall. The very first rat that falls is Kaibo.
Yes.
I just want to make that known.
Yes. Note for later.
A little bit. Yep.
I'm okay. I'm not okay.
Apparently very okay.
Yeah. And
he landed on somebody.
Yeah, he must have, because later on he's perfectly fine and just kind of chills with Graypatch. How is he alive? And if he's alive, how is he not like broken and like crying in a corner?
He's doing that on the inside.
Yeah,
maybe
apparently.
he landed on like a pile of leaves or something. We had a trampoline when I was little, and my dad had just finished mowing, so there was a big pile of dead grass, and I was jumping and I wasn't paying attention. This is the only time I've ever fallen off the trampoline. Blind child, And so I fell off and I landed right in the pile of dead grass, and I was totally fine. Like, my sister's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yep, think so."
Wow.
Yeah, it was super lucky. So maybe Kaibo just had a lucky landing.
I'm just picturing Kaibo like falling, bouncing off a trampoline, landing on his paws, and then like running for his life.
Yeah.
So basically, it's Emperor's New Groove. You could have told me you didn't need the trampoline before I delivered it.
He just takes a moment at the bottom to be like, I'm fine. Yeah, of course.
He's like, I'm alive. And then one of the rats like lands next to him. He goes, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So I think one of the only things that was funnier than like a bunch of Divins just like killing 2 dozen vermin here is how they talk about it afterward. And that is like all the Divins are sitting on the south wall stairs and they've got themselves like tankards of strawberry fizz and a bunch of food and they're going back and forth. And it's just like younger versions of adventurers unwinding in a tavern on a glooming night. They're regaling, they're fibbing, they're laughing and trying to outdo one another. And it's like they're all like the equivalent of like 4-year-olds.
Yep.
Yep.
I was going to say,
absolutely
except
awesome.
in baby talk.
So there I was, pacifier in one hand and a knife in the other.
It's like, jeez, man, calm down. Yeah, and then one of them's like, yeah, we could have a Divin army, you know? Like, we could do it, guys.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, guys, you know, like, we could start a business.
So this is where Divins Against Bedtime started.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
They unionized.
Well, unfortunately, Matthias didn't get this violent crew of Divins by his time, so.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like the disciplinarian in me, I've done summer camps and stuff before. And I'm just thinking, okay, so now what happens? Because they're not being punished for being out. And it was kind of a good thing that they were out. But what if they try to do this again and actually get killed?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we do get a good moment for one of the sisters, Sister Serena, when the rats come back and start using their fire swingers. One is about to hit those Divins. She dives and just protects them with her body, as the book puts it.
Yep.
And then, like, just leads them away. I'm like, you're awesome. Like, holy cow.
Yeah, and she didn't even know what was going to happen. She's just like, oh, got to protect the kids.
Yeah, like Sax
Whereas
is
like
just
that
yelling.
Captain America moment diving on the grenade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And well, we'll get to the fire swingers in a bit, but meanwhile, back at Salamandastron, one of the hair
Patrols.
squads has come back. And they're like, huh, where's everybody? Didn't we leave a badger here?
It's like,
huh,
wait, he sent us all away.
his sword
Not
is
again.
This isn't good.
Start digging now.
Yeah.
The last time a badger got out, yeah, well, Sunflash happened. Oh.
Well, that's the good, you know what? That's the positive thing about killing massive amounts of rats at sea. You don't have to bury any of the bodies.
Oh,
The
because
ocean takes care of them for you.
Yeah, they find evidence that that Ronblade basically scratched the wall with his bare claws, and oh, blood rat. Okay, folks, we've all trained for this. We know the blood rat protocol.
Well, maybe not, because this is the first time in a really long time that someone's had to have blood wrath.
Well, as far as we know, we're told that Ronblade was Sunflash's grandson or great grandson.
Yeah, something like that. So,
And
I mean, unless they did like this blood wrath protocol from like they just did it just in case something would ever happen, and it's the thing like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this thing is finally happening that we thought would never happen.
All right, folks, I told you this would happen, and no one believed me. But you all thought I was crazy to have this.
Okay, let's go over procedure here.
I'm just picturing that Simpsons episode where the guy at the peanut factory sees the elephant approaching, and he's like, "All right, everyone, we planned for this."
Step 1, find your blood wrath buddy. Do you have your blood wrath buddy?
Step 2, prepare the Sister May special in case he does not come willingly.
Step 3, dig 80 holes. We're gonna need them.
Step 4, hide in said hole. That is good.
But yeah, we kind of hinted at this earlier, but they find what's left of the Waveblade crew.
I do like the fact that it's shown as like this chilling moment, though. Like the blood wrath is almost never shown as a positive thing. Like, yeah, it gets them out of jams sometimes. Sometimes villains get what's coming to them, but a lot of times, like everyone, even the good guys, are like, yeah, this is a bad thing that happens.
Yep.
Much
And
less. Most of the
voice
badgers.
actor,
Go ahead.
the voice actor they got to play the dying rat was really good.
Yeah, he
Like-
really was.
Oh man, it's like, oh, okay, this is a seriously wounded person here.
Yeah, even at double speed, I was like, this guy's putting his heart into it. They nailed it with that one.
Yeah.
And there's even a pretty chilling moment where we find out A, the names, and B, familial relations of the 3 hares who apparently were killed by sea rats. A hare by the name of Fleetlegs, he's like, hey, wait a minute. I know those names.
Yeah. He's like, that was my family. Like, oh.
Because apparently Ronblade was mentioning the hares he was taking vengeance for. So
yeah, and the rat's like, he just kept saying the names.
Yep.
And I want to point out there was 100 sea rats. Holy hell!
Absolutely.
I mean, even Sunflash went down in the first charge of what's his name, Swart.
Yeah, and the rat, even that surviving sea rat's like, he's just talking to the hares, like he doesn't care that they're his enemies. Like, do you hear what I'm telling you? Like, holy cow! What just happened? We didn't stand a chance.
I get the feeling we missed a cool battle.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to just seeing the aftermath and hearing this guy's recap, like minor recap. I don't know if we wanted to see that.
Yeah, and
that's kind of what they were after, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if the hares have like a Hulk kind of protocol. Like one of them approaches and is like, "Hey, buddy, sun's getting real low."
Ronblade smash.
Pretty much, yeah. Because when we kind of catch up to Ronblade, he's just happily asleep. Like I would not be surprised if he's got like some stuffed animal under his arm.
No, he's got like a head of a sea rat under his arm.
Yeah.
Cuddle
I
buddy.
hear the music box. La la la.
And he's totally happy in his sleep.
La 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 la.
Or better yet, it's like the sole survivor of all the sea rats, just like untouched, just like, help me. Help me.
He won't let me go.
Like, what do I do?
I'm scared.
Yeah. One thing, circling back to like the last we see of Stonehead, which is also it's just before we catch up with Ronblade, I think. So Stonehead brings Mariel and the gang to the edge of this bog, right? Mm-hmm. And then basically says, hey, I'm not going to go any further in this, not because I'm scared, but just because I'll probably die. I think all of you are going to die, just letting you know. But hey, if you're ever around again, come say hello to me and the missus. We'll have some salads for you. And yeah, see you around. All right, take care, guys. You're gonna die. Bye.
Have fun storming the castle.
Yeah, he just takes off, and they're like, "Cool, thanks, Stonehead."
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even mention his wife. She's there.
Thunderbeak.
And we're told that she appears to be even more vicious than her husband.
Yeah.
And like the children are like attacking them too.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like one of the little owlets like bites her dad's leg. Like she's half asleep, but she bites him, and he's like, "Oh, who's a good girl?"
This is the opposite of Bulldred, where like she gets home and her husband's just like the stay-at-home dude with his, like the peaceful little chicks, and she's like, "Yeah, I have to randomly go out and yell at people." Meanwhile, Stonehead's like, "We kill things. I hit them over trees. My children will grow up and murder plenty Flitcheye. It's awesome."
Bro.
Get their protein.
They're totally gonna beat them up, man. It's gonna be great.
He just needs to start cutting a few wrestling promos. And...
Yeah.
What you gonna do when Stonehead runs wild on you?
I am so glad you went for the Hulk and not the Ultimate Warrior there, Jerry.
Destrucity.
There we go.
Just mindless,
the
insane
power of the
battle.
Stonehead runs through my veins. The Flitcheye will. Oh God. Doing that voice hurts.
More or less than the Matthias' sister voice.
No, actually doing the Macho Man one hurts the most.
Oh, that I believe.
That one. Yeah.
Back at Redwall, yes, we have hey, what are those fire things on the air?
Hey, look, comets. Oh.
Yep. Oh, no. This was a good idea-ish by the Sea Rats. I mean, like, it's terrible, but it's a good plan, I guess.
It's a really good idea in that, like, they get to stay out of range and just kind of cause terror. Really keep everyone on edge.
Yeah. Yep. It kind of reminds me of in Redwall when Clooney's gang like grabbed the church spikes and was spinning those around and throwing those things.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, yep.
I think
and that worked well until Constance like started throwing them back, and then it was like
they're like, all right.
So I think that the strategy used here, it's a favorite among, especially so. Remember, before I was a mod for like the FanWorks boards, right? And so many of the stories people writing there used like this same exact strategy. That was like their go-to. It's just, guys, use fire. They gotta have like wooden stuff somewhere. So everyone was always, yeah, just sneak up and set fire to the gates and secretly burn it all down and then run away. Nice. And obviously that's gonna work, right? But like, you got to think, like, if any of you have seen like a big heavy church door, like I'm talking like the western portal on some cathedral or something like that, these things are like a foot thick, just like this huge, like 20-foot tall slab. Like, you're not going to light this on fire with like a Zippo lighter or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You're going to need something crazy, and there's nothing subtle about that. And so then they're like, oh yeah, fire arrows. Obviously, like something in the Abbey has to be wooden, right? And it's like, this, yeah, it's made of wood partially, but this isn't really tinder, so to speak. Like you're dealing with like some old stuff. Like I can't help but feel like, Redwall would have burned many times over had they not thought of this.
I will say they do take into account that it's the unfinished Redwall, because it does mention that they hit the unfinished bell tower, which is just a bunch of wood at the moment, and that starts to catch fire.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that would only work in this one.
If you guys hear a random thumping noise, that would be my dog wagging her tail.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what that was.
Yep, that is my dog. Trying to keep her quiet.
They are kind of treating fire like action movies treat car explosions.
Yeah.
It just spreads.
So you're saying Graypatch is learning from Michael Bay?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that could
just
be
explosions everywhere.
Yeah, or the FanWorks boards, one of those.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was kind of funny because I was like, is this has to be like where everyone's getting these ideas from, because it's like there's a good chunk of the stories on there, and it's not to say they're bad or poorly written at all. A lot of people put effort into those, but it's just it's a common theme I've seen, and I was like, that's kind of funny.
I just picture now Graypatch like saying like, I have this idea, we'll throw these fire swingers. Like, did you think that up yourself? And he like hides like a smartphone showing the forums, goes, yes.
Well, yeah, totally. It's yep.
Yeah, whenever I think about this book, this is one of the parts that I always remember of them throwing the fire swingers, because it's the most effective strategy they use until some new arrivals show up, but we don't get to see what they do yet.
Oh yeah, that's at the very end, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is also where we see the zombie Kaibo.
Yep. Kaibo all of a sudden he just sits down next to Graypatch. He's like, yep, this is working pretty well. So like either Kaibo survived that or he's a ghost and only Graypatch can see him.
Right.
How about the latter, just because it's more funny?
Just like so nonchalant, he just plops down next to him. He's just like, so check it out. See the wall up there? That was me.
I'm sure he's still reliving it every moment. Like every time he closes his eyes, he's just like falling.
Yep.
It did floor me. It's like, Kaibo's sitting right there. He's not dead.
There's that, like, that kind of feeling though, like when you're little and you go to do something real stupid and you do something that in every way should have hurt yourself, but somehow you come out completely unscathed and you're just surprised and you're just like,
Yep.
okay. You're just like scared, but you don't know what to do.
I miss those days because now I hurt myself on things that probably wouldn't have done anything when I was a kid.
Yep.
I guess Kaibo had just collected 100 coins and he had a free life.
Yeah.
It's okay. I had an extra
Like he was
guy.
going through.
He hit continue.
There we go. He respawned.
So then after like all this stuff fails, they're going away and like up the path, and then blind Simeon, he just gets up there and just starts roasting everyone. He's just like, yo, Graypatch. He's like, I'll be back, you'll see. And he's like, I can't.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Well, there was a whole like, well, no, that was earlier where they had to say like, we'll kill this one if you don't let us go. And he's like, you can go. You didn't have to do that.
Like, you didn't have to threaten him. You could have just left.
Yeah.
We also get during this whole bit, Saxus actually kills someone, and
that's right.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets all shell shocked.
I really like it when Jakes puts these characters in, because you have, the battle-hardened warriors who know that, this is just something you have to do sometimes. But then you also have the people that are like, holy crap, I just killed someone.
Yeah. It like makes me think of Feldo and Brome in Martin the Warrior.
Yeah.
There was probably someone who scratched down a note like possible abbots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Saxus doesn't like killing. Oh, that's a good sign.
That's plus.
But he's still prepared to do it. He's just like, oh my god, what did I do? But this is what I have to do.
Yeah, I do like that they show it's like it's a valiant moment of him defending the Abbey, but it's also like this dark, sad moment as he realizes like, oh god, I just took a life.
Yeah.
And I think that goes really hand in hand with the whole aftermath of the Bloodwrath scene, because you sort of see two sides of this. You see, and they're both treated the same way though. It's both very grim. There's no comedy going on during these moments per se. So like you get the aftermath of Ronblade and the Bloodwrath and all this stuff, and it's like you guys said earlier, like it's pretty grim and stark here. And then you look over here and it's Saxus, he just killed somebody and now he's like feeling all crushed. And I kind of like how Jakes takes a step back and just treats this seriously for a minute before continuing on to the regular antics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that.
It's a way to dot in those, I guess more mature moments, I want to say.
I think you could look at it as action is good, but violence is bad.
Yeah.
Like we have these action-heavy moments of, Stonehead like bopping the Flitcheye around, and that's like a fun,
it's
victory moment, rather than as opposed to Ronblade literally just murdered a whole crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does kind of make a clear line between the two, doesn't he? Yep. So then where does that leave us? Are we on to this 24?
We really haven't focused on Mariel's group that much.
That's right. This part of the book doesn't do that very much either, so. No.
Yeah.
Right.
We hinted at earlier, but at the end of the Fire Throwers, the hares showed up. Just to say, like, yep, we're here.
Yep. It says, sea rats didn't talk like that.
Or
and then Saxus opens and there's still sea rats behind the door. Correct.
Like, fooled you.
Well, I mean, a spoiler a little bit, but later the hares are talking like sea rats, so I guess the sea rats could learn to talk like hares if they so wished.
This is true.
That would be a scene. I would like to see something like that. Like you get a bunch of these guys out in front of the wall top, and instead of being like, oh, excuse me, sir, we're the humble travelers and stuff, it's like, I say, good day. What? Like all this stuff, they just to the whole like, jolly good morn to you. That would be kind of funny.
That would be good.
So we do get a bit of Mariel and the team moving on from that. They when Dandin gets himself thrown into the bog and Mariel jumps in, and well, she doesn't jump in, but she saves him, right? And we find out that Martin had been given each of them instructions separately. Dandin to hold his arms in the air straight up, and then Mariel to look up at the tree and, throw that in after him. Or what did she do with it?
They climbed up on the tree branch and lowered it down so that and then I think she tied the rope around his paws, and then they jumped off the branch so it pulled it up.
Yep, it like act like a slingshot, like yanked him out of the thing.
Yep. And I do like here that Martin just says the tree, and then Mariel has the intelligence to kind of, she's like, oh yeah, the tree, and then she comes up with the plan from there. Like, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah. It's
he's
not Martin just telling her step by step. Okay, get in the tree now. Tie the rope now. Drop it down to him. It's just this quick thing, and she's smart. Like she immediately is like, okay, now I got it.
Yep.
And that's also a really good way to convey how dangerous this trip that they're on is, right? Because you've run into a few spots where you've had, baddies along the way, but then it's also the environment itself is sort of working against you.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really nice job on Brian's part. I really liked that one.
I'm also, though, getting the thought of Graypatch and his group came from a completely different direction. I could just imagine them like hearing about this going, where did you guys go through? Like, what? We just went up the river and got here. What? But you guys are going through hell.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I started to get... When we get to the whole drowning scene in the swamp, I could hear the Sonic drowning music there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just like, oh God.
Well, then you're really not going to like the beginning of the next part of the book.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and then we find out that the Heralina survives the whole ordeal.
It does.
Oh, yay.
Oh, yeah, wait, I wanted to bring something up. So I just got to this part of my notes. So Tarquin sings a song in this story that was also in the Long Patrol, and it's the same song. And I remember because I did the audio of the latter of those two, and then when I went back and was listening to this one, I was like, wait a minute. And like my ears sort of perked up. I was like, huh, I feel like I know this from somewhere.
Thank you for confirming that for me, because I thought that was the case, and I think I brought it up on the last episode. I'm like, I think this is the thing, but yeah, okay, so it is. Cool.
Oh yeah, that was back in book 1, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting that stuff. Yeah, this is what I get for trying to do it all in one day.
That's okay. I'm trying not to talk about book 3 stuff, so
Okay, there we go. So then, we still don't get anything from Gabool here, do we? We don't get anything in the... Do we? We get one thing in the whole, right?
Yeah, we had his bit where he was going bonkers and reveals Scrablag, and that was it.
Yeah, he talked to the bell a bit more. And
so why do you guys think that, he doesn't really play much of a role in this whole middle section?
I guess because there's not
too much to...
There's not too much to do with him at the moment. Like, I mean, outside of his sanity, like, rapidly deteriorating, he doesn't really he's not going anywhere, and he sent everybody else out, so he's kind of the only character left on the island, so there's not a whole lot they can really do. I mean, he gets more in the next part of the book, but it's not like in Madame Mayo where you have, oh God, Slagger's crew is actually on a journey, or they're introducing the villains that, like, the birds that are going to attack Redwall. It's he's kind of played his card, and now it's just like, all right, let's check in with him and give this ominous bit of this creature that he's keeping. But other than that, there's not really a whole much, unless like one of the other pirate ships arrives back, there's not much for him to do.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. I think so I've seen stuff like this happen in other stories where you sort of allude to a character without actually explicitly describing them. So that is to say, we characterize, I mean, this is what I think the motive was, and it's partially why I asked. So it's like, you get to know a little bit more about Gabool through dialogue and stuff like that between different characters. So like Graypatch mentions that, going back to sea would be suicide because that's Gabool. And they're saying the entire sea, like, no, you're not going to be able to hide there. Or like through Ron Blade's dreams, we see him briefly, and this guy who killed 100 pirates in one sitting, suddenly it's like, oh no, this is his, arch nemesis. This is the guy he's after. And then you get it also through Mariel, who's like, I'm dedicating my entire life to getting vengeance on this person. And so, but you don't actually see him in most of this whole section. So, except for this one part where he just is like, oh yeah, his sanity's on the decline. And so it kind of creates this illusion of this character arc, building this guy up, one, as someone who, when we come back to him, he's probably going to be utterly insane. And then two, it's sort of it's keeping him in a bit of mystery here, and saying like he's extremely powerful, he's extremely far away, and we're going to just keep mentioning this and just know we're working toward it. But it's going to happen. And I thought it's like a cool way to try to bring a character out and make him stand out a bit, I think.
Yeah. It's also a good juxtaposition of them, like, Graypatch is worried about Gabool coming for him. Ronblade is obsessed with Gabool, like, ruling the oceans. Mariel wants her revenge. Then we go back to Gabool, and he's just completely losing it in his castle. At the moment, not really, as far as we know, he's not a huge threat to anybody, just because he's going so bonkers, though that also might make him more dangerous. And also, we did see in book 1 that he does fake being out of it, like he's faked being drunk and things like that. And so maybe, like, I guess from what everyone says, like, oh, maybe he's pretending to be losing his mind.
Oh, I didn't catch that part.
So, like, in book 1, there's like moments where he kind of lulls the captains into false senses of security, where he acts drunk, like completely acts out of it. He's like, hey man, how's it going? Oh, I'll give you some treasure, and here, take my sword. Like, he is screwing with them. And so in this part, it's like, oh, he's going bonkers, but maybe he's also faking it, because like maybe when they come back, he'll be perfectly normal. Once there's other people there, he'll stop obsessing over Graypatch.
Yeah, that's kind of good. I like that. Although, is there anyone really he could be acting this out in front of?
I can't remember if I know there are supposed to be slaves at the castle, and I know in book 1 he sent them to go help on the ship. So there was a period where there was no, there were still a couple slaves because they were polishing the bell. So there should be some slaves around there, but I don't think any of the pirates are there anymore.
Okay, got you. And then let's see. We also get a look at Roof Brush coming up in here, and I don't know why I wrote this name down. I think it's because the name sounded familiar, and I guess he's in the sequel to this one, right? He's in the Bellmaker.
Yep.
Or
plays a bit of a bigger role.
Whinier younger brother, like.
Yeah, he kind of. Yeah, he's different in the Bellmaker. Yeah, he definitely regresses, because in this one he's tough, but in the Bellmaker he's like, I don't want to go.
Okay, because I thought that sort of same thing, but I couldn't remember stuff clearly enough to convince myself. So I looked it up on like the Redwall wiki, right? And I guess he's the guy who climbs to the very top of the abbey and hides Martin's sword there at some point.
Yes.
And that's what we see, and that's where it stays basically until Redwall.
Until Salamandastron, actually.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, Salamandastron, there is that moment too where they find like one of the records. It's actually pulled exactly from the end of this book, where Saxtus or someone wrote it down, so that Roof climbed up to the top of the abbey and lodged it up there.
Yep, and it does not make an appearance in Bellmaker.
Nope. That and Outcast are the only two I can think of where Martin's sword just does not show up.
Well, and Lord Brocktree, unless you count the carving.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's true. Well, I'm thinking. I mean ones that after the sword, like post Redwall being built. Ones, but yeah, that's a good point.
And then we've got then Mariel and the crew get to the coast, right? We got Bobo or Bobo.
There's lizards before this, but
oh, geez, sorry guys.
Where's the warden when you need him?
Yeah.
There's just like them really lazy, not very brave lizards.
Yes, and I love
just kind of lightly following.
I love how Tarquin, like at one point, is going to be a lookout, so he like goes and he like brushes, just like, beg pardon, old lizard, excuse me.
Just walking through, like, excuse me, pardon me. And then he sees where they are, and then comes back and like slowly like pushes them out of the way, and they're all just kind of looking at him like, what?
They're all talking to him like, hey, you gonna come by?
I did like when the first appearance of them where he's just casually talking and goes, oh my, and then turns and brains one with the Harolina.
Oh yeah. He's just like, I mean, I say, don't you think? And he's like, what?
Like, what if that was a child?
No.
Just commonly leaning against him, like, "Oh, hi."
Thwack.
Along the line, we finally meet our other new neutral character. What's Babo the Dormouse?
Bobo's cool.
Yeah. Although, like his
him.
speech pattern reminds me of Yoda. Because he always is the lucky I was to find this place again.
A shore washed here, I did.
Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Thank you.
Bravo.
And he tells us this pretty dark story about before Gabool became captain of captains when he was still on the ship. And yeah, Bubba didn't even know his name. He was basically born a galley slave.
That's dark.
Yeah,
he's got a very dark story. Like
he basically, his first major memories is being chained to this oar, and there's a vole across from him who dies pretty easy.
Yep.
It's like, and then Gabool not even bothering to check that Babo's alive, tosses them both overboard.
I don't think he cares. He's just like, oh, they both might as well be dead. Throw it overboard.
Yeah.
Hey, we need another spare engine over here. Bring up 2 more slides.
Yeah.
And
so about a miserable existence, right? I mean, he's an oar slave, and then he washes ashore, unbounds himself from this like body, and then lives in a cave until these guys show up.
Yeah.
He hasn't gone anywhere else. Whenever he has tried, he just ran into the bog, and he's like, "Well, this is the extent of my world.
Well, this is my life now. I'm just gonna sit here and brew my dandelion water.
Yep. Chill out with my newt.
Yeah, yikes. I do like the new is it Furl?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like him. I just kind of picture him as like this like silent little lizard with like you know those you ever see like the YouTube videos of the lizards that for whatever reason they look like they have this huge happy smile on their face?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
kind of like the cute pet on an anime show.
The what?
He's kind of like the cute pet on an anime.
Oh yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
Like
I kind of imagine this is the Redwall equivalent of like a pet dog. You know, like they can't speak, they just kind of like you and are companionable, which got me thinking, okay, they should get one for Simeon and train it to be a guide newt.
There we go.
A seeing eye newt.
That would be funny. Although he doesn't need one because he's got superpowers.
He's
Daredevil. That is true.
Daredevil.
I want these superpowers. I especially want the food superpowers. I think I've said it like 5 times in this podcast, but I really want those.
Yes. So
although kind of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Babo leads them to basically, and if J.K. Rowling stole this for her book 7, Harry getting the sword out of the pond, but I would totally not be surprised. Basically, the next major marker, some sort of swallow, is at the bottom of this deep pool, and Mariel gets the bright idea of loading herself up in Dandon with rocks and tying ropes to them, while the other 2 just kind of keep an eye up and pull them up when they've gotten the thing.
See, now with the saying that Babo is kind of like Yoda, I'm now picturing that scene where Luke goes to the cave. Like, face of evil it is.
Yeah.
The weapons, not need them you will.
But you should totally take rope.
Yeah.
Take rope though. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So yeah, they just kind of what's the deal? It's a blue lobster down there, and it's just like, yep, you know what? I'm gonna go down there.
Yep.
See, I don't know why they didn't just sort of take a step back for a minute. They're just like, just start throwing food in there. I'm gonna jump in, and she's like, I'm gonna go alone. And then Dandon's like, no, you're not going alone. She's like, okay, you can come, I guess. And then Dury and Tarquin are like, oh yeah, we're gonna come too. And then she's just like, nope. They're like, okay, well, looks like we're staying here.
Yeah, they're like, oh darn.
I'm like,
Dury,
see who the main characters are.
Yeah, it's like Dury would have the most natural protection from something like that with his spines.
Yeah.
You'd think he would have been a natural choice.
Dury really doesn't get a role in this story, does he?
No, he's kind of like a more useless version of Dinny.
So I think this is kind of something cool here, is that when it comes to fleshing out your side characters, you've got your Tarquins and you've got your Dury. So Tarquin, the reason he is sort of more at the forefront isn't really because he talks more, it's just because he's got a couple quirks about him. He's got this horrible instrument, and he's in love with another character in the book. versus Dury, there's no defining trait to him. Like, I forgot he was there for a few portions.
Yeah, he's just there for the ride. That's all he really kind of says. He's like, I just want to have an adventure before I settle down.
Well, he's the exact opposite in the next book. I kind of like how Roof regresses. Roof kind of becomes the Dury of this book, and Dury becomes like the adventurous character in the next one. It's weird.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't go along for the ride.
Yeah. And I will say, I was going to say, Tarquin also, he is from Salamandastron, so it also makes sense that he'd be, confident and helpful in these situations. That he's actually had training of going on quests, but on missions and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Dandin never learned how Gomph dealt with things with pincers, and
Yes,
we could have had another greatest hits here with that. Another dance party.
Dancing through life.
Dancing time.
Yeah, that part was awesome.
Was that a Wicked reference?
Huh?
Dancing through life?
That was a Wicked reference, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh.
I was tempted to make a CNC Music Factory reference, but I think that's even more dated. So
Everybody dance now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Jeremy and I are kind of 90s kids, so what can we say?
I am too. It's all good.
I was thinking Caboose in Red vs. Blue, where he goes, dancing time!
So yeah, that's part 2. But let's get another opinion on that. And what we have and what we're introducing for the first time, if one of our regular contributors can't be here, we're giving them the chance to chime in as a correspondent. And here's Matthias.
Greetings, fellow travelers. Matthias 720 here, buried in my ice cave. I'm somewhere in the Northlands, and despite the brutal cold, I take quill and ink and put pen to paper to write this missive to my fellow recorders. When we last met, talking about Mariel, Gabool, and the Long Patrol Hares, we got a bit bogged down by so much story that this part of the tale seems downright bland in comparison. The first half acts as a good continuation that pairs well with the overall story up to this point. Second half, not so much. Sure, things have occurred to move the plot forward, but in the end it feels like the story can't decide who to focus on, and it fails to develop any substance because of this indecision. Weaknesses aside, though, there were some moments I quite enjoyed, and plot points I found interesting. So I'm just going to go through each of the major plot lines and point out a couple of different things that I found interesting or amusing. First off, starting with the Redwall plot, with the Dibbins growing restless in Cavern Hole, it was Cavern Hole, the Abbot and Simeon trying to keep order, and Simeon cooks up the Grockle Deeboo. Ooh, it's going to eat all the naughty Dibbins. It's like, well, we've certainly never seen one. Maybe they make their nests in strawberry trees. Then later on, when Graypatch attacks for the first time, the Dibbins, Bag, Rudd, and Grub sneak out with some of the Friar's best kitchen knives and cut the grappling hook lines, and down go the vermins. Oh, that Grub. That's cute. So with that attack, I'm left wanting a metal band called Dibbins with Knives. Yeah, that's pretty metal. Moving on to the Graypatch plotline. When Big Fang takes over and leaves with Graypatch's crew, Graypatch lets him go because he knows that Big Fang doesn't have the wit or temperament to be able to properly lead. He's just a bully. And while Graypatch himself does bully his own crew, he does it with reasons to back him up. He doesn't need to be a bully, but he does it to enhance his grip on his position as captain. One of his crew does stay behind, however, Fishgill, and loyalty is not the sort of thing that I would normally expect from a sea rat, but I have to give him just Fishgill knows where his best interest lies, and that's with his own captain. So I give him props for being a loyal crew member. Thumbs up. So Graypatch sends out his crew to attack once. They get repelled by Dibbins. Then they attack again, and Graypatch decides to use fire swingers, oil-soaked, grass-wrapped rocks on the ends of ropes that are set on fire and then swung up to speed and thrown over the wall. And it's really telling that sea rats are the only vermin dumb enough to use fire. It's probably because they spend so much time surrounded by water that they just don't appreciate the danger fire presents. I was hoping, it's like, burn yourselves, burn your tails, something, just burn. It was not to be. Speaking of vermin, the Gabool plot doesn't really have much of anything this chapter. He mostly just has a dream and then gets woken up by the bell. But that is one sassy bell. It has some very interesting timing, waking him in the middle of a Martin the Warrior-esque dream. I like that bell. 2 thumbs up. Moving on to the Travelers, Mariel and company get captured by Flitcheye, and it seems like these infernal little nuisances always pop up to make travel difficult, no matter which story they arrive in. They're always there. They're always with their smelling knockout weed pot things. I don't know what to call them. And it's like, you'll smell the sweet smoke, then you'll end up in La La Land, and then you come to finding yourself wrapped to a tree or a rock by some ropes. And yeah, they're going to threaten to kill you or take your valuables or something. I hate the Flitcheye. Fortunately, Stonehead the Gurney shows up, and I absolutely love that name. It's like Stonehead the Gurney. Sounds like some wrestler from back in the 1930s or something. And in this corner we have Stonehead McGurney. I don't know. It's pretty great. He takes them to his home, gets to meet, introduces them to their... Stonehead takes them to his home, introduces them to his wife and chicks, and surprisingly, the owl chicks really like Tarquin singing. But there's no accounting for taste there because they are young, and they don't seem to be the only ones who do. And thank you, Stonehead. I thought there was nothing that could quiet that caterwauling hair. So, upon reaching the sea, the group is introduced to Bobo, the dormouse. Bobo greets them as weary travelers. So, I wonder, Pete, do you think we can get them for the next episode? Bobo? No? Okay. Moving on. Salamandastron. Orgai's ship runs aground on some reefs, and there's Ronblade waiting, and he does them all in. The Long Patrol hares that discover his absence, they state, there's been no Badger Lord that has had blood wrath since Boar the Fighter. And that's simply not true. I double-checked. Sunflash was stated to have blood wrath during the Battle of Salamandastron in Outcast of Redwall. Ronblade takes out the entire ship of sea rats, which is impressive, but it's also one of the bloodiest and most violent battles that we don't see, but we see the aftermath of. And if this scene was done for TV or movie, it would have to be heavily censored, if not entirely cut, for just how brutal it was. It's like, wow. I'd forgotten just how intense this aftermath was. It was insane. Ronblade himself was described as falling into a sleep like an infant next to its mother. And, I mean, yeah, he took out an entire ship by himself of sea rats, but badgers have enormous reserves of strength, so he must have been fighting for a super long time for him to get that exhausted. Anyway, at the very end, we see Dandon and Mariel descending down into a pool of water to try and retrieve the sparrow that was spoken of in the riddle, and that made for a real good cliffhanger ending. Really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to book 3. So, if you'll excuse me, there's a snowbank just outside my cave that is begging to be turned into a snow mouse. Safe journeys, everybody.
So that's what Matthias thought. But yeah, that's part.
Matthias. That was pretty insightful.
Yep. That was awesome, Matthias. Man, what else do you have to say?
And that was part 2, folks. So shorter than the others, and we still get some genuinely. There's good moments. There's some genuinely disturbing ones, least of which is our Dibbins sending people to their death, or the
and
giant
playing with knives,
murder babies.
And or a badger lord happily just slaughtering everybody. So now I'm just picturing him in it, just doing that to the tune of "So Happy Together."
No, I'm picturing Pete. Remember that robot chicken where for Star Wars where Anakin's like pretending he's slicing sunflowers. I left you some fresh sunflowers in the kitchen. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, that's probably better, honestly. But yeah, it's a good start, but we're still not to Terramort. Huh.
Nope.
I wonder how they're going to get there.
I don't know.
I generally don't remember, so.
Oh, I do.
I do too.
I have a feeling it's going to be a boat. That's all I got. Sort. It's been like 6 years since I've read this book.
No, if it goes on a 3-hour tour, I'm walking out.
There you go.
Maybe the Eagles bring them there.
Oh, God. I still haven't managed to force myself through those books. I saw the movies, and I don't know. I know he's a fan favorite, but I got bogged down at Tom Bombadil when I tried to read those books.
What books?
Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
They're a tough read in that, like, there's a lot of description.
And George R. R. Martin is the same way.
Pages and pages on trees or something.
Yeah. There's like 2 chapters dedicated to the battering ram that shows up in Return of the King, and
and if you didn't think Redwall is bad with food, a description of food, yeah, George R. R. Martin provides us every damn meal those characters eat in his books. Huh. I'm not making that up. Don't get me wrong. I love that series. I was
inspired at all by this stuff.
But that's for your other podcast, Recorder on the Thrones.
Yeah.
No, there are already way too many Game of Thrones casts that I would never want to try to compete with.
Yeah, the most we talked on our actual other podcast, the most we talked about Game of Thrones was where Pete played the first episode of the Telltale game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's part 2. So, I liked it.
Yeah, it was short, but it was good.
Thanks a bunch for having me on, you guys. I appreciate that. This was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed coming back too.
Yes. Well, hopefully we can see you both for part 3 here. So.
There we go.
Okay. Tammo, do you want to promote anything?
Oh gosh.
Any of your fanfics or just the Redwall forums or anything you have in mind?
You know what? I didn't think of this at all. I didn't think any of that through.
That's
So
okay.
We'll hold off on anything for now. Just come say hi. You know, we're a fun bunch. Stay away from the cellars. That place is madness. And I hope you have a great day.
Fair enough. Jeremy, where can they find us?
You can find us at recorderonthewall.com. We are on iTunes and Google Play Podcasts. We are somewhere on the Redwall forums. We are also on the Eulalia subreddit. We have a Twitter presence at ROTWpod. We have a Gmail email address for you guys to send us feedback or questions or suggestions or offers to be on the show. It's rotwpod@gmail.com. Did I miss anything?
I'm looking into the possibility of streaming kind of Markiplier style for playing through Lost Legends. So I'm probably going to use Twitch. Really cool. So I'll keep the people informed on Twitter about that.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, my first playthrough of the game, somehow the save file got erased, and I have to start from the very beginning.
Oh, sad.
Oh.
Well, hey, let me know if you do that, because that could be a really cool thing to feature over on the forum.
Okay, I will certainly do so. Okay, folks, we'll see you next time. I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Katie.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Tammo.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
See ya.